Hi everyone, Diane here, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a slightly autumnal twist and beginning to look a little bit towards mushrooms and things like that. And so I've got some books I want to show you and share with you, which I think are interesting, not only about mushrooms, but also about nature journaling and that kind of thing. But first of all, a quick word from our sponsors today. Like many people who enjoy art as a hobby, I also love other crafts, and that's why, for me, Craftsy is an ideal fit. Craftsy is packed full of classes in over 20 popular categories, many of which I personally am not only interested in, but have enjoyed learning about. You can choose from subjects including everything from art to yoga, knitting to weaving, and gardening, jewellery making, cake decorating, and of course cooking, and many more, are all there for you to learn and create from. Craftsy instructors are all highly skilled experts in their fields, and the video lessons you'll find on Craftsy are professionally produced and easy and enjoyable to watch. I love starting my day with a dip into Craftsy offerings, which gets me off on the right foot to have a productive and creative day. Today I've chosen to recommend and highlight a course by Judith Castle-Mamet, who is an experienced teacher and author of a book called Joyful Pages: Adventures in Art Journaling. Judith has a playful approach to creating art and loves to use not only watercolor but mixed media such as inks and techniques like stamping and collage, so you're bound to find her work inspiring. Craftsy is the best online resource for all things creative, and if you're tempted by this offer, click on the link in the video description to get a full year's membership for just $1.49. As well as the video lessons, Craftsy offers lives and a community where fellow makers can connect with one another. So what's not to love about Craftsy? Click on the link below to explore what's on offer and join up to start your day the Craftsy way, just like me. So first of all, I will show you my little Viviva sketchbook of mushrooms, which I started around about this time last year. Unfortunately, I didn't date what I was doing, but I thought I would try out this sketchbook because this one is, it has an unusual kind of texture to the paper. It's not the normal cold press or even hot press. It's more like cardie paper, you know, that stuff which is very rough and a little bit absorbent. But it's not terribly absorbent, so you can actually do watercolor on it and the effect is quite nice. So anyway, I hadn't done mushrooms for a long time, so I was doing a little bit of, you know, just playing really. I might have shown you this before, last year, for example, but I don't think it would hurt to go over it again. These are just pure watercolor. There's no pen work here, and it was just, I think, I don't know, I might have done these from life, I can't remember now. But anyway, so that was that arrangement. And then we've got this one, which I added some leaves to, and I think we might be going to do something a bit like that today. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it yet, but something along those lines. And we've got, you know, the big one and the small one grouped together, so it makes a bit more of a composition. These are just basically cut out and plonked on a sheet, but here we're sort of thinking a little bit more about how to arrange them. And I was just using ordinary watercolor. I think this is probably mostly raw sienna, burnt sienna. This looks like, oh, I don't know. That looks like a purple mixed with brown. And here, this is a development from this. So I've done that, and then now I'm combining the two together. And adding some lines. This was a sepia pen, one like this, you know, a fine liner. I think it's a Winsor & Newton sepia pen. I'll put information about everything that I used in any of these drawings underneath the video in the description below. So here we've got a little bit more detail. You know, I'm starting to think about veins on leaves and edging and drawing in the gills and things like that. And then I went back to the idea of two, a big one and a little one in a kind of composition there with a little bit of grass and so on. And then I enlarged that. And if I remember rightly, now I come to think about it, there is a video for something like this. There is definitely a video of mushrooms along these lines. And this was my preparatory work, I think. And then I'm trying here to use a coloured pencil, which is not my biggest favourite medium, and definitely on this paper it's very interesting how it works, because it comes out very patchily, so to speak, you know, lots of texture. So that was quite interesting. And then this one is an ink drawing, which I did, and then coloured in with some pencil very lightly. It's another style of sketching. So all these different ways of doing things. This, I must have got fed up with mushrooms at this point, and I went ahead and did some leaves with pencils and a bird. And then this is obviously much more of a graphic art type of thing, more whimsical. I think this is the difference, isn't it, between this kind of thing and then we go to this kind of thing, which is basically a doodled on whimsical mushroom. What do you call it when it's more of the symbol of mushroomness, so to speak, rather than any particular mushroom. Then I seem to have gone back to a page of mushrooms surrounded by leaves, which I think is actually quite nice. And these are kind of moving on from the bright colours of this whimsical idea. These are obviously, they look a bit like ice lollies, don't they? These are obviously not the real colours of mushrooms, but they're more the real shapes of different kinds, so shaggy cap and so on and so forth. And then I have painted here, this is, I'm pretty sure there's a video for this as well, a very worried looking owl sitting on a mushroom. He looks as if he's considering whether or not to actually eat that snail, which I think owls do, don't they? Anyway, and then I've gone back to, I think this is a charcoal pencil. So, and this was September last year. So I'd probably done all of these in August last year. So it's about a year ago. There's a snail hiding here too, and some oak leaves. And here's another piece of kind of surface design. I shouldn't be surprised if I had copied that from, or adapted that from something that I might have seen online somewhere. I can't remember now. That's sort of playing around a bit. And then I went from there right back to the more realistic thing. This is pen and ink again. I think it's black this time. And then with a watercolor wash for the color of the mushrooms. And then this one I did yesterday. So this is where we're at right now. And this I did using this book as my learning place. And I've recommended this book before. It's the John Muir Law's Nature, Drawing and Journaling book. Very good, very detailed, very, you could almost say pedantic, because it's incredibly, what's the word? It's very prescriptive. And he, you know, really, I think it's ideal probably if you want to become a proper botanical artist, and you might even be at college or university learning all of these things. He goes into a massive amount of detail. But anyway, best to dip into it from time to time. You can't possibly read the whole thing. And this is what I used for my practice work yesterday, copying some of his ideas about how to actually depict a three-dimensional mushroom. And as you know, all artists say, don't do it exactly like mine, make it yours. So I did. I mean, this was based on this, but I did learn about the way the gills in the mushroom all go to the center. So you have to make sure when you get to the back here that they're all going to the center. And I've just realized the light's on, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay, so yeah, I recommend that book. Details are in the description below. And before I go on to do my painting for today, I'm just going to talk about a couple of other books. And first of all, I want to mention this one, which is probably well out of print. This was published in 2004, and Bente Starker King, she was originally from Denmark. She is no longer with us. She died actually in 2005 at the age of 79, I think. And but this is a very, very, very good book if you're interested in botanical painting, a little bit more botanical painting rather than nature drawing and journaling, more feminine. It's got lots of lovely examples of paintings in it. This is not, I mean, this is brilliant. This, for example, how to draw a spruce cone. She goes into the detail of how it's structured and how to make it look real. Excuse me. She was a fantastic artist. And this is kind of complementary to the Laws book, actually, because she talks about all the same things, but in a different way. I have had this book since about 2005 or 6, and I've never really actually used it. And I've never really actually read it. But I pulled it out today and I thought, oh, I think this is probably the time for me for this book. And I'm going to read this because she's got lots of information in here about how to compose, how to create a good composition, you know, rules to avoid, things to avoid, and so on. And a lot of people have been asking me, or several people anyway, just recently have been asking about how to compose. And actually, to be quite honest, I don't really know. I do it intuitively, what I do. I don't really know the rules, but she does. So if you can get hold of this book, if you can find it in a secondhand shop, I think there's one on Amazon. I won't say it's cheap. I paid £15 for that back in 2005 or so, and I think it's more than that now, because sometimes when books are out of print, they do become more valuable than new ones, and there's certainly a lot of information in there. And here's one that isn't out of print. This is by Rosalie Hazlitt, and it's Watercolor in Nature, and this might be more up your alley if you don't like all that amount of detail from Bente. This book, I'm not really keen on her style, but it's a useful book if you're just beginning, I would say, to start to paint animals. It's not, what's the word? It's not overwhelming. It's not daunting. You can look at these and you can say, yes, I could do that. And so, yes, you might not actually want to, but you probably could. So this one is definitely available and is not expensive and is probably a rather good way to start with nature journaling, nature painting. Doesn't have to be journaling, any kind of nature painting. So that's that. And then this is my Food for Free by Richard Mabey. This is another old book. This is also still available. This was a special edition that came out to celebrate the 40th year since it was originally published. And it's actually not art, of course. It is full of beautiful photos of everything that grows that you can eat and a few things that grow and you shouldn't eat. The photos are wonderful, as you can see. Beautiful things that you could copy, work from, things that you don't necessarily see every day. I know this is England, but most of these plants grow in America and elsewhere in Europe, and probably in Australia and South Africa and places like that. So, yeah, I mean, they really are, there's a lot of detail in these pictures, and it's a very, very good resource for, for nature painting. I think probably if I had to recommend one book for anyone who's interested in painting flowers and berries and all the other things that grow, leaves and so on, this is probably the best genuine photograph resource that you could find. And it has got a section on fungi, mushrooms, here at the back. And there are, let me see, how many pages of fungi? It goes from 321 to 402. So 80 pages of fungi. And we have so many to choose from. Amazing pictures. Really lovely pictures. You know, big and lots of detail, so you can really see how it is as if you actually had it in front of you. And nice ideas like put some ivy leaves around the base of some mushrooms and paint that. Now here's one lying down so you can see right up inside it. Loads and loads and loads and loads of really good ideas here. And the only problem I'm going to have today is deciding which one to use as my inspiration, because there are so many to choose from. So I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but wood hedgehog, that's a good one, isn't it? I suppose I should carry on in this book. It's nearly full. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 4 or 5 pages that I can paint on and around. So I will do that. Paint-wise, what am I going to use? I think I have to say I'm going to use my Michael Harding paints, only because I do think that they do bring the best results. And so Michael Harding is going to go there. And I'm going to decide what to do next, which painting to work on. Okay, I think I'm going to start with this. This is a cep, which is a very popular edible mushroom around here. And I'm going to put that on my book stand, which I did mention this before. In case you're interested, this is a book stand which came from Meaden, actually. It's on their website or also on Amazon. And it's very good because it folds up really flat and doesn't take up any space. But then you can open it up and it has a little metal prop there, so you can have it at several different angles. And then your book sits here, and it's got these bits to hold the book pages open. So that's really quite good. Put that there. It takes even a big book like this one, and it's really handy. I don't know why I never had this before. I only recently got it, and so I'll put that over there out of the way. And then I'm going to draw using a soft pencil, I think. This is a 4B, and it doesn't have to be a 4B. Any pencil would do. And I'm just going to, let me see, I'm going to sort of try to copy the shape of the lid, the cap of the cep, and I'm going to give it a shorter stem, trunk, and we go around there like that. It's got a few marks on it and it grows like that. And then underneath we've got beech leaves lying on the ground here. Could be oaks, could be anything really. So we'll just sketch in a few leaves, and we could have them coming up behind as well, and maybe even coming down. And then let me change my page to find a different shape perhaps. And going back a bit and through the book. There we are, this page here. It's got 4 different kinds of mushrooms on it. So I'm going to use that. And we will put a little cluster of... Now, when you're doing one that has got its top tilted back and you can see at the underneath, you want to paint an oval. Make sure you don't make that sharp because it is round. And then just put the cap on top. And you want to make sure that it comes to the center. So like that. And then we could have another little fat one here. They're pretty forgiving mushrooms when it comes to drawing them, I think. And I'm going to put a tall one in the background here. So we'll do a long stem, a few more leaves in the foreground. And then this one is basically like that. Okay, so we have a sort of little composition there. And I think what I'll do is I'll just paint it in watercolor and then perhaps do some lines, some pen work on top. So let's start with the set. I need to go back to my previous page. I think it's pretty much like that one. And where are my browns? The good thing about brown is that you can mix it from practically anything. So here in this set, I've got burnt sienna and quinacridone gold. And then over here, I've got all my greens. I can't actually get everything into the picture, really, can I? So I'll start with some, oh, and there's also somewhere here, some beige like this. This is Daniel Smith. I think this is, oh, what's it called? Buff titanium. I always forget what that's called. So I'm going to, I think, put buff titanium in as the base color for this. And just kind of drop that in all over this particular mushroom. And the stalk. And then I'm going to put some burnt sienna in. And we'll just drop that in and let it run. If we add some ultramarine to burnt sienna, we get a greyish brown, a different brown altogether. Add a little bit more, you get more of a grey. And these colours are lovely. And we could put some on the top here. And spread that out a little bit. I'm going to let that just sort of move around a bit. And then we'll go back to our other ones. And one of these is green. Actually, I'm just going to remove some of these lines because I don't want them all to show too much. So I'm just going to roll my, this is a kneaded eraser which is very good at just picking up superfluous pencil lines, takes the graphite off. Yeah, so let's do the same thing again, and this time I'm going to use this pale whitish colour as my base, which I can't remember what it is. I think it's I do know, I can tell you, it's a Holbein colour, and it's oh no, it isn't. Hang on. No, that is soft white. That is soft white, and that is from Michael Harding. That's soft white. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of green, and I'm going to drop that in. Okay, so because that mushroom is green. And then we'll just do its stem in a very, very light beige. There's that one. And then this one I'm going to do in a sort of amber colour. So I'm going to do his base colour is going to be Jaune Brilliant from Holbein. And we'll do the stem in buff titanium, like that. And then, as I said, we're going to do red, so orangey red, I think. So we'll just drop that in. And that's benzodiazepine orange. Okay, and then this little one down below here. Let me start off again with the buff titanium. Oh, I haven't done anything with the stem of this one because it has quite a light coloured stem, so I'm lifting some of that out. And this brown one, similarly, has a very light coloured stem, stalk or whatever you want to call it. And then the brown, we're going to use some Payne's grey mixed with burnt sienna to give us a very dark brown. And just let that wander around a little bit. Okay, so because that is a very, very dark colour on in the photo. And I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow under here. And a tiny bit on the stem. And then I'm going to pick up some quinacridone gold. And we'll just drop in some sort of random leaf type shapes in places. And add some of the burnt sienna as well, with and without the greys, and just kind of grow a design, if you see what I mean. And then we can pick up some more of the Payne's grey to make this darker, and we can put in a few sort of dark speckles and spots. And then over here we need some more, and perhaps we have some oak leaves like that. Might drop a little bit of green in there, because oaks, oh, I'm going to put an acorn there. Right, so the top part of the acorn could be green-ish, and then we want a sort of dark brownish colour for the something like that. And then we'll have a bit more quinacridone gold coming down from the top. A few more oak leaves. We can sharpen up the shapes of the oaks with pen if we decide that we're going to come in with pen. And then I think over here I'm just going to put a little bit of blue in the sky. I'm not going to go all over with blue, but just to remind us that we are actually on planet Earth, where the sky is blue. I'm going to do some grassy bits. I'm going to use some green gold mixed with Payne's grey to give us some nice dark grasses, which we can put over the top here and there. In the background. I think we need to let that dry, and then we can come in and do the line work. So I shall stop there for the minute and come back probably after lunch and finish that off. Okay, so this is now completely dry, and I'm going to, I think probably the next step that I'm going to try is, what comes to mind anyway, is to use a sepia coloured, that sort of light brown, mid-brown fine liner from Winsor & Newton to do some outlining on some of these mushrooms. And let's see what we can do. So where should we start? Maybe if I start up here. And when I'm outlining, I don't do a single straight line. I do lots of broken, sort of somewhat wiggly or jiggly lines, because that's kind of a little bit more interesting, I think. And you can add details to your mushroom's cap as you go along by, you know, doing squiggles and things, just to give it a little bit more interest. And you can imagine that it might have all sorts of things going on the roof. So you can give it these sort of warts and things that many mushrooms have. And we come down that side there, and underneath it was like that. It had a kind of narrow sort of rim there underneath, and I suppose it would probably, you know, a certain amount of lines down there. And then we'll come down here, the stem. And we can add some vertical lines. And if when you're doing the vertical lines on a tree or a mushroom, doesn't matter what it is, if you do the lines closer together at the sides and then as you go into the middle, the lines are further apart, because that way you get the impression of depth and recession. Yeah, so that's a little trick that I learned from the John Law book. So, yeah, and we can do a few more of these. Okay, and maybe we'll go on to this one now. Nice green. You can vary the darkness of the line, put a bit of shadow, perhaps underneath where the cap is. And this one, we can do the same. And this one's got quite a lot of bumps on it and sticking out at the top. We can make those white if we want to. We could always use a, if I can find it, a white pen. Let me see, where is my white pen? Let's see. I can put some white in the middle of these dots. And then we're going to do the gills, making sure that they go to the center. That's 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's another one here, and this one had, I think, in my original, he was quite dark, and he had darker still lines on his hat. I think he had something like this, and then some white in the middle. Okay, then we need to do something about the leaves. You can put some veins in these oak leaves. And we can go around the outside edges a bit if you want. You don't have to do that though, don't want to. A beech leaf there. The acorn tends to have a kind of dotted, spotty, textured lid, and then quite often sort of lines going down like that. does seem very quiet here at the moment. Gabriel is not crowing half as much. You'd think we didn't have a cockerel anymore. Since we lost Remy, I'm sure they must have been in competition with one another, because they were always making a terrible amount of noise. And yeah, I've just realised that it is much quieter than it used to be. That's probably not a bad thing entirely from the point of view of the listeners. I'm sorry if some of you were finding it difficult. I know sometimes Tamsin was complaining and saying, oh, I wish that cockerel would shut up, but that wasn't what we had in mind. Didn't mean that to happen. Okay, and I think I'm going to just, not with that pen, I'm not going to do very much, am I? Just perhaps, I think probably we've got to the point of where we pretty much wanted to go, really. I think we could perhaps, I mean, we could add a little bit more colour if we wanted to. Could bring in some more shading. For example, on this one, which is fairly pale, we could just add a little bit more. And we could, just leaning down to find my, just emphasize it a little bit. And maybe we could even make the green one a little bit darker at the top, let's say. Around there, maybe. And we could, some dark brown. And a little bit more shadow, a little bit more contrast. Just more or less at random down here. So we'll let that dry now, and then I think we'll call that done. So there we are, we have our mushroom scene forest floor to start off the autumn, which is on its way. It feels like autumn today in this part of France. Elsewhere they've got really high temperatures, but we are doing quite nicely here. So there we are, one little forest scene. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll put a sketch of this on the, minus this bit here, which shouldn't really be there, on the website. So go along to dianeantone.com and you can download loads of sketches for free. And we're in the process of updating our website, so you should be able to find out everything you need to know about over there. And yeah, so I'll let you go and wish you a happy day and see you again soon. So I'll say bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.